If you're an author or plan to be one, get excited because this podcast is for you. Book Marketing Mentors is the only podcast dedicated to helping you successfully market and sell your book. If you're ready for empowering conversations with successful marketing mavens, then grab a coffee or tea and listen in to your host, international best-selling author Susan Friedman.
Welcome to Book Marketing Mentors, the weekly podcast where you learn proven strategies, tools, ideas, and tips from the masters. Every week, I introduce you to a marketing master who will share their expertise to help you market and sell more books. Today, my special guest is Anna David. Anna is a renowned author, publisher, and speaker. She has 8 best-selling books under her belt and is the brilliant mind behind Legacy Launchpad Publishing. Not only has she graced the stage at 3 TEDx events, but she's also a familiar face on popular shows like Today, Good Morning America, and The Talk. With her company having published over 40 nonfiction books, Anna is a true powerhouse in the industry. And a quick newsflash that's just come in, her brand new book on good authority, 7 Steps to Prepare, Promote, and Profit from a How-To Book that makes you the go-to expert, launched this week. I recently had the pleasure of working with Anna, so it's even more of a pleasure to welcome her to the show. So Anna, thank you for being this week's guest expert and mentor. It's so good to have you.
It's so nice to be here and to listen to the dulcet tones of your beautiful accents. Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I must admit that a few people have said that in the past, so I have to believe you.
Yes.
Anna, we were talking before about the whole idea of traditional publishing versus hybrid publishing, self-publishing. I know you feel very strongly about this subject, so talk to us about that. Why do you feel the way you do about traditional publishing?
I often say I'm in recovery from alcoholism and traditional publishing. Back when I got started, I'm first of all 22 years sober, so that's good. And let's see, how long sober am I from traditional publishing? About 12 years. I sold back when I was a traditionally published author. You could make a living at it, which is a shocking concept to me today. And there really was no such thing as self-publishing. There was, your weird uncle who carried the manuscript in his trunk, and you just were like, what is this weird thing? I got an agent who sold my book to HarperCollins in a bidding war and to my top choice publisher. It was all so exciting, and there was a bidding war over the movie rights and everything. And then this top choice publisher, her imprint dissolved in a day. There was nobody there to sell the book. Back in 2006, you had to sell lots of books. A sales rep would go to all the bookstores, to Barnes & Noble and Borders primarily, and they would place a big order if they really believed in your book. And there was no one to place orders because there was no one at the company. Even though the book got tons and tons of buzz, it didn't sell well because of all of that. It sold well enough for me to keep getting book deals. So I got 5 more book deals with HarperCollins. Each time I thought, well, the first time it didn't go well because the division dissolved. This time I'm going to get all this publisher support and it's going to be so great. And I will say I had the same editor on 3 books, and I have no evidence he actually read my book. When he was ultimately let go, I heard a rumor that they found all these unread manuscripts in his. I just thought I was brilliant because he had no notes, but turns out he was just lazy. And the publishers did absolutely nothing for me, and I had zero control. I had books released under titles I didn't like, with covers I didn't like, with all sorts of things I didn't like. And when I discovered that I could publish my books myself, it was such a great revelation. And that's all I will do from now on.
Oh, I'm with you. Amen. Absolutely. I mean, yes, I've had a few books published traditionally, and recently had my Dummies book published. But I know that control factor is such an important part, and especially so many of our listeners, as you know, are nonfiction authors. They've either published through Aviva Publishing, my publishing company, or they've published other places, or they've published themselves. I mean, we can do that these days, and it's so incredible what we can do.
Yeah.
Now, I know that in your new book, which I absolutely love, I just got it literally the day before yesterday. It's called On Good Authority, as I mentioned in the intro. You say in it that most people who release books these days find that their businesses don't improve and that their lives don't change. Why is that?
Because I think we all have this idea. We all grew up reading books. And if we go to the trouble or expense or both of writing and publishing our own books, no matter what people like me tell you, you have this fantasy that your life is going to change overnight, that suddenly everyone's going to treat you differently and possibly there's going to be paparazzi outside your door and nothing happens. There was a story that I read in Bookseller, the website, yesterday that was about how first-time authors often have to get antidepressants. Their mental health suffers as a result of the disappointments and learning that your publisher is not going to do anything for you. I always likened it to, I live in Hollywood, where let's say you got the funding from a company, got Warner Brothers to support you in a movie you wrote, directed, starred in, and produced. And then the day it came out, you called Warner Brothers and the phone was disconnected. Like, that's really what it feels like. They're with you and they're with you. And then your book comes out and nothing. And if you're Glennon Doyle and your book automatically takes off, traditional publishers will put all their time and resources into books that don't need them. Not because they're horrible people, but because they're business people and they want to put their resources behind the books they know they're going to make money on. I not only didn't understand that, but you're sort of set up to fail, because if you're not Glennon Doyle, then your book's probably not going to take off in the first week. That's what they look at. My friend Jennifer Armstrong, she said, and this is actually in the book On Good Authority, she wrote several books and then she thought she was having marketing meetings. And then when she wrote a book called Seinfeldia, which was a New York Times bestseller in its first week, they said, well, now we're going to have a real marketing meeting. Those haven't really been real marketing meetings. And you really learn what it's like when your publisher supports you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if people are behind you, yes, it really helps. And I love to support my authors in whatever way I can. However, like you, we guide them along the way. We don't necessarily do it for them. So you talk about in your system, your authority building system that you talk about in your book On Good Authority, about making a book wildly successful that in a way that it's going to impact your whole life, the rest of your life. How do we do that? How can we make our own book wildly successful?
I did want to clarify one thing, which is I did found a publishing company where we do it all for people, because I founded it because, you should found a company based on what you were seeking. And it's so important to me that our authors feel supported and see how excited we are for their books. And you can't do that if you're releasing 10 books a week or whatever, but you can if you're only releasing 12 to 15 a year. In order to make your book, to answer your question, so quote, wildly successful, you have to redefine what success means. I know a handful of authors who had #1 New York Times bestselling books, whose books were picked by Oprah, made into movies, and they can't rub two nickels together today because they didn't have a business that supported their books. If you have an incredibly successful book, you're still not going to make a living from it, unless you're Glennon Doyle. And even she seems to do a whole bunch of other things. You have to look at it like, what does success mean to you? So I released a book 4 days ago, and I consider it wildly successful because I decided I was going to be so organized that I was going to have an amazing launch. And I'm lucky enough to have a team that does a lot of it. It's wildly successful to me because it's got over 100 reviews in a few days. I don't look at book sales. That has nothing to do with success. For me, it is, I'd rather have 100 people whose lives are going to be changed by my book and may hire my company as a result of reading my book than 10,000 people who aren't going to care. I say you go into it knowing you're writing the specific book for the specific group of people, and you have a way to get it to them. That is wildly successful. And you have a business set up so that you can actually make money. Because if you're not going to make money, you're basically saying, I'll take pennies for my time, which I don't believe in. I believe in being compensated for all the time and effort and possible money you put into your book.
Amen. Very much so. Now, something else that you talk about, especially I've read the introduction to the book. I was like, oh my goodness, this tells me everything. It's like training an audience to always think of you as the authority in a particular topic. You know that I talk about that a lot, the whole idea of riches and niches. But how would you go about training an audience to think of you as this authority?
You have to, first of all, declare yourself an authority, not through a degree, though a degree is wonderful, but through experience. And I think I learned this just through being in recovery. We always talk about it in recovery. You can go to all the therapists in the world, but one alcoholic talking to another is where recovery starts to happen. Experience. And obviously, I'm not talking about like operating on people or things that are going to put someone's life at risk. But if you have experience with something and you have come out on the other side, you can help other people with it. I had experience with publishing and I came out on the other side of traditional publishing. And that gave me an amazing education into how to do it for other people. But what gave me a much bigger education was actually doing it. Because the reason I release a book every year is so that I can look at what's working. How do you get people to review your books? Is it worth paying for a publisher's weekly review? Should you ask in quote influencers you know to help you? And I learn so that I can then do it for my clients. But back to training your audience, like it or not, you have to start putting yourself out there. And rather than looking at social media as an albatross, I say look at it as your opportunity to have your own TV station, magazine, radio station, whatever it is you want. You don't need a gatekeeper. You don't need the Today Show to say, yeah, we'll have you on. You just need to set up these accounts and start posting. There are very easy ways to do it. I'm actually teaching this in a class based on, Susan, the work we did together. I have a masterclass. I don't know when this is going to air, but it's a free masterclass where I'm going to teach that system that I went over with you guys, which was all about using your book as material to post. You don't have to come up with anything new. Take the book that you're writing, where you've written, go to the Word document, save a version as for social media, and look for little parts that can be posts. I use a platform called SocialBee. I take sections of my book, I post it simultaneously. I schedule it to go on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. The entire thing takes, about an hour a week. And I have trained an audience to think of me as an expert on this topic. I've gotten $80,000 clients as a result, and I don't have huge followings. So it's not about the numbers. It's about showing people that you're an expert. Social media isn't the only way, but it is a terribly effective way.
So what else? I mean, yes, you know that one of my, maybe it's a bit of an albatross, or I've made it that way with regard to social media. I've made it really hard for myself. And I know you and I've had this conversation that it really shouldn't be. And I'm working hard on that. But what else? What are other ways in which you can get out there and, as you say, be seen and heard and valued as an authority in your topic area?
I think joining groups, masterminds, I don't have a lot of experience with joining Facebook groups and that kind of thing, but Quora, in the book, I get into all these different methods. You can join a quote board for magazines or websites like Fast Company and Entrepreneur, where you pay, but you are allowed to post whatever stories you want. They have to be approved by an editor. They're very strict because it can't look self-promotional or promote anybody else. If you're writing about business and you're writing for Fast Company and Entrepreneur, you are establishing your expertise. A newsletter is going to be the very best way. They always talk about you can rent an audience or you can own it. Renting is posting in those places. Owning is bringing those people to your newsletter list. And if people say it's pain, it is a pain. I really did not like doing a newsletter for many, many years. And then I figured out a system and I absolutely love it. I'm not just saying that. And I've gotten it into a system where I don't have to spend a lot of time doing it. I look at it as you get to write a little book, very short book, maybe just a paragraph every single week. And I think looking at these things as creative opportunities rather than, oh my God, I have to write a book and go do all of this stuff too.
That sounds really exciting. Is that something that you can share with us, or would you share with us?
Yeah, it's also in the book. I went and studied, what are the newsletters I like opening? What are the ones I always delete and what are the ones I always open? And I took classes and I really studied what those newsletter writers were doing. And I saw that they were consistent both in how often and what day they sent their newsletters, also in the content. And I decided, okay, every week I'm going to answer one publishing question. I'm going to have one resource and I'm going to have one tip. And that meant when I'm sort of bouncing around the internet all week, I'm bookmarking, ooh, that's a good resource and that's a good tip. Sometimes those are bits from my book. Sometimes those are going to be things I'm going to post on social media, but it's literally 3 holes that I have to plug in. By the time I come to write the newsletter each week, I've got ample options. The more fun you're going to have with something, the more people are going to like it. I definitely get emails every week from people who say, I love this newsletter. Oh, you made me laugh. Oh, I'm going to try that. And I never got that before I had a system.
Systems are wonderful things. One of the things you mentioned earlier, and I want to pick up on it, and that are reviews. So many of my authors say, well, how do you get reviews? And you say your book's been out a few days and you've already got over 100 reviews. What's the secret?
The secret is you have to remember that non-authors don't know how important reviews are. They don't know its currency. They just think, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. The best way, honestly, followers are going to be better at doing reviews than friends. And it's not because your friends don't love you. It's just because people interested in your topic who follow your work, who look at you as an authority, are going to be better at it. My team and I have a system. We do it for all of our clients where if you have a newsletter list, you send out a couple emails to that newsletter list and you say, please, will you join my launch squad? That's what we call a launch squad. And people join. I will tell you something I did this time is I sent out the newsletter. And the more books you have, the harder it's going to be to recruit people because they've already supported you. In your first book, they're far more supportive than on your 8th. I sent out a newsletter and I said, please join my launch squad. This is, what it is. And this is what will be required. I got a lukewarm response. I got not that many. Then I sent another email a week or so later where I titled it, My Book's in Trouble. I explained, hey, I sent out this newsletter and I didn't really get a great response. I really would love your support. And I got a much better response. Somebody on my team gathered all those emails into a spreadsheet, and we have copy that we send out a series of 6 emails, and we give the book to people a month ahead of time. We put it on a website called Book Funnel, which is $20 a year. And you send them the link, and it's this pretty landing page, and they're able to download the book as a PDF or on their Kindle or whatever it is. And then we nudge them a couple times and we say, write your review ahead of time so that you are fully prepared 2 or 3 days before the book is officially launched. We send them the link to Amazon. We say, this is the time. Please buy the book for 99 cents and paste your review. And you have to know that probably at least half the people who said they will do it will flake. So always get a bigger number than you think will be there. I think we have 200 and we have over 100 reviews, but we don't have 200. One thing that I tried this time that I'd never done before is I have a list, not a massive list, but I have about 4,000 people on my list. And if I had 150 people, 200 people on my launch squad, that's not an amazing percentage. So we looked at who opens a lot of my newsletters, who are my most active subscribers. and we wrote individual emails to them and said, hey, would you support this? And not only did we get responses, but I got invitations to go on podcasts and other offers. So that's really the secret.
It's interesting because that email that you sent out with that headline, My Book's in Trouble, I mean, I responded to that.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'd seen the previous one, or if I had, it hadn't had the same impact. But seeing that, I was like, oh my goodness, Anna's book's in trouble. I can't believe that. You know?
And I learned it because somebody sent one of those emails to me and I had the same response. With newsletters, when you're sending one every week, you start to notice, what do people open? I will tell you, I make a lot of mistakes. So I've sent newsletters and then realized, oh God, I didn't mean to send that, or it's the wrong link. And then I'll send a follow-up called oops. Oops are always the emails that are opened the most. If people think you made a mistake or you're in trouble, that's what they're going to respond to.
They want to help.
Yeah.
That's a natural instinct.
Yeah.
So why not take advantage of that? I love that.
Yeah.
What's one of the biggest mistakes that you find that authors make?
I think believing the field of dreams quote that if you build it, they will come. We're drowning in noise. Authors are not just competing with authors, but they're competing with Taylor Swift and Kim Kardashian, competing for attention with everybody in the world. For the most part, you have to do a lot to break through that noise. They say it's somebody has to hear about your book 7 times before they buy it. If you, quote, own that audience, if they're newsletter subscribers and social media followers that you've been talking to, they probably only have to hear about it once to buy it. I made the mistake 6 times thinking, oh my God, everyone's going to care. And they don't unless you make them care. So that, I think, is the biggest mistake.
Making them care. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Talk to us more about that concept.
I think what you just said is really brilliant. People want to help, but they don't know unless you tell them. Like I was saying with reviews, if your friends don't know, if they don't write books, they don't really get that reviews are currency. You have to know how busy we all are. I will say one other thing I forgot to say about getting book reviews. One thing that we did this time is we sent out, don't know what to say. Why not answer these 3 questions? Because I think a lot of people, especially people not accustomed to writing reviews, think, oh my God, a review. It's like very intimidating. It's for a book. It has to be brilliant. No, it doesn't. It can be short. You can go back and revise it later. So I think understanding how overburdened everybody is and really catering to that, making them care, and then making the ask not particularly time-consuming or difficult. One thing we do, which you can't do if you're traditionally published, is we release an ebook at 99 cents because verified reviews on Amazon count a lot more. You can review something on Amazon without buying it, but Amazon really prioritizes verified reviews. So asking somebody to review your book is one thing for 99 cents. Asking them for $10, that's a big ask. And I don't want to ask that of anybody.
Yes, I love this idea of the 99 cents, just for a day. And the whole idea, you can become a bestseller on Amazon with that. It's very helpful. People like that. It helps their ego, especially first-time authors. I really love the idea of helping people with what to say, because you're right. Many people don't know a testimonial, a review. What shall I say? Yes, I'll agree to do it. And then after that, you're like, oh, SH, what happened? I don't know what to say. And then you leave it and you leave it and you procrastinate and it never gets done. Helping them along the way, again, is very useful. I know that our audience want to know more about you, how they can find you, they can tap into some of your brilliance. So take it away.
Probably right now, the best place, well, I'll tell you, depending on when this is released, I am doing this masterclass on how to build a business from your book, because people say, oh, great, I don't have a business, I'm a creative. Well, I'm showing you exactly what to do. So depending on when this is released, go to launchpadmasterclass.com. It's May 11th. 9 a.m. Pacific, I'm going to be doing that. But I'm on all the social media platforms at Anna B. David. And to find out about On Good Authority, you can go to ongoodauthoritybook.com.
Beautiful. And listeners, it's really worth it. Go buy the book and just soak up everything that Anna has to say, because she really is brilliant in this area.
Well,
we always ask
you.
our guests to leave our listeners with a golden nugget. Anna, what would you like to leave our listeners with?
If you think you have a book in you, and I'm imagining if you listen to this, you do, the best time to write a book was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. Don't let fear, which is false evidence appearing real, talk you out of it.
Yeah, that fear. And one of the things that just touch on very briefly on this idea of imposter syndrome, because I think there's imposter syndrome that's wrapped up in that idea of fear.
Yes.
Can you give us a few words on that?
Well, I think everybody suffers from it to varying degrees. And to just think of it as when you have that voice, who am I to do this? This is actually how I end the book. I challenge you to say, who are you not to allow imposter syndrome to stop you. If you have something that can help people, that's actually quite selfish to allow your negative thoughts to stop you from helping people. So I think, remember, it's not about you. It's about who can benefit from the information.
And that's brilliant. The whole idea that it isn't about you. And often we get absorbed with the idea that, oh my goodness, what are they going to think of me? And it's like, not that at all. It's what you have to offer, your authority, your expertise in a particular topic area. So Anna, thank you. I hope we can get you back again, because I know we've not even touched the tip of the iceberg here with your brilliance.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. So thank you. And listeners, if your book isn't selling the way you wanted or expected to, let's you and I jump on a quick call together to brainstorm ways to ramp up those sales, because you've invested a whole lot of time, money, and energy, and it's time you got the return you were hoping for. So go to brainstormwithsusan.com to schedule your free call. And in the meantime, I hope this powerful interview sparked some ideas you can use to sell more books. So until next week, here's wishing you much book and author marketing success.